Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cosmere Connections. We're a collective of book-loving nerds rereading Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. From book 1 to book 16 million, we'll be uncovering every secret connection there is to find. Today, we are joined by Swiggity Swoo.
Jareth has healed me, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't know you were
John.
sick.
Yeah, why do you think I was gone last week?
Ah.
True.
The Shehode struck.
He's been healed. John.
Oh.
Kay.
You know, I just really don't trust this doula fella who just showed up out of nowhere.
And I'm
The sketchy
ReaderWarrior. Today, we're going to be very
romantic
suspicious.
doula with the amazing sword skills who just happens to be here right as the country's in turmoil.
It definitely doesn't have amazing sword skills, considering the fact that it's. Well, I'll talk about it in my chapter.
And I'm
Fair enough.
ReaderWarrior. And today we're going to be covering Elantris Part 2, The Call of Elantris, chapters 50 to 54. Our final part of Part 2.
Woo! Okay, so we'll start off with. We'll go ahead and get into it. With chapter 50. Very exciting. So Sereni is talking to Ash, and just checking in with Ash about what's happening. We do know that Telri has been seeing noblemen, but he kind of has been having them wait for a long time, just like hanging out in his waiting room to come in and see him. And and it's like, and we also learned that Telri, I find this an interesting fact, is that Telri didn't gain his own fortune. The only reason he has as much money as he has is because he got it because of his brother. Because when his brother died, he inherited all of his brother's wealth. So he actually didn't do anything to earn the money that he has and the wealth that he has, which I just thought was an interesting fact.
Makes sense, though.
Yeah. Must have been a lot of money considering we don't really see him save or try to, or succeed in making more money all that much.
Mm-hmm. Also, we know that Sereni is really worried about Telri converting to Shudireth. And she's like, why is he waiting? Like, what's going on? And she's like really anxious about it. She knows that as soon as he converts, then Erelon is going to be invaded by the priests and the monks, and the entire country will be converted to Shudireth fairly soon after. So she's like really anxious about it, and apparently Hrathen also has a bill that he is trying to get Telri to pass that essentially says that anyone who is opposing Fjordell and Shudireth would be, at the very least, imprisoned, if not executed. Which, she's not excited about that possibility, unsurprisingly. But she is at Royal's Manor because the women of the court decided that they wanted to continue their fencing lessons. So they have been continuing to do their fencing, I think twice a week is what they said, 3 times a week, something like that. But they've moved to Royal's Gardens, is where they've started doing their fencing lesson. So they're doing this fencing lesson when they are very rudely interrupted, Sereni feels,
He was a gentleman.
by this random doula, who is from the Doula Den what is it? What is it?
Republic.
Republican class. The Republican class. So he was one like the nobles of Duladel before the fall. And his name is Kalu, and he just arrived in Erelon after hearing he claims that he was hiding in the southern Erelon until recently when he heard that King Iadon was looking for someone to take Baron Edon's place, and he came up to Kai to present himself in its place. Serenity meets him, and she's like, something is wrong. Something is off here. This feels something feels wrong here, and she can't quite put her finger on what it is that feels off about it. But she decides to test him to see if he is a true member of the Duladel Republican class, because he, as a Duladel Republican, should be a very good fencer.
So instead of like quizzing him on like history or like their government or
Nope.
something,
She
no, all
decides to
Dula are good
throw-
swordsmen.
She decides to throw a sword at him and abruptly challenge him to a duel. Which is
Ungod's
very
spine.
If I had a nickel,
Very
if I had a nickel for each time Sereni threw a sword at somebody and immediately challenged them to a duel, I would have 2 nickels.
which
Which
isn't
isn't
a
a lot.
lot.
But
But
it's
it's
weird
hard
that
that
happened
it's happened
twice.
twice.
And she wonders why she can't get a man.
Well,
I stab you.
She's just always trying to sword fight them, which personally I think is awesome.
so
Honestly, if a girl challenged me to a sword fight as a prelude to a date,
That's what I'm saying.
As long as it's not a euphemism, sure.
no.
So, back on track. So she challenges him to a sword fight, and he does agree to her sword fight. And as she's battling him, she notices he's not a very good swordsman. Like, he's passable. Like, he can keep up with her. He's able to defend himself, but he's not on the offensive at all, which she thinks is kind of strange, but also she knows that she isn't as good as most of the Republican class of the Duladin, but there are ones like Duladin Republicans who were less skilled at swordplay. So she's like, maybe he is one of those because he does know how to use the sword and he is passable with fencing. And she gets to the point he ends up kind of throwing her off guard a little bit. He pulls a flower out of nowhere and he's like, I got this for you. It reminded me of how beautiful you are. But right before that happens, she was sure that her sword cut his face because she picked the actual swords instead of one of the dull blades. She decided to use an actual blade.
Why though? Why?
Because when she
Serenity.
doesn't like you, she goes for blood.
Yeah.
And she's beyond done at this point.
I am
Like,
sick
here
and
comes
tired
this-
of all of these men just messing with me.
Here comes this
Time to
random
die.
person that her only hate against him is he's too much of a stereotype of a doula. So I'm going to fight him with actual pointy swords.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes when that doom music is going, you just gotta let loose.
I'm
So-
a chainsaw.
But so she's pretty certain that she thought she hit him on the face, but when she looks at him after the fact, she doesn't see any mark on him, and she also doesn't see any blood on her Siri. So she just dismisses it, and she's like, I guess I didn't hit him. Like, I guess I didn't. I'm pretty sure I did, but she kind of moves on.
Did it. First of all, do we think Okay, do you think that Raoden used Aeon Opay to make the flower while he was doing his trick?
No.
Or did he have a
No.
flower stashed away?
They were fighting in a
just-
garden, bro.
And he can do Aeons pretty. He can just do. What's Aeon?
It would have been too much for him to do while trying to defend himself from Sereni.
Also way too visible. I'm pretty sure he just cut a flower off of a local bush and was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is how I get out of dying."
Also, is this the original complaining about hitboxes?
Hacks! I call hacks! Where's the
I
hit
know I hit him.
marker?
Pretty sure it hit him.
51. John.
Yeah, so in chapter 51, we join Hrathen walking through some colorful tents in the market. And he is kind of taking mental note of just how many of the merchants are still there despite, all the political upheaval and all that, and kind of how many of them are actually kind of from the east. And he kind of thinks to himself, these people can't sell their goods. They may just be completely ruined financially. And at the same time, he also kind of notices that they actually kind of give deference to a Gjorn, which is something that he has sort of become disassociated with due to his long time away from the homeland. He's been in Duladel, he's been in Aerolon, and he's been gone a long time, and he kind of, I don't know if he feels awkward at it, but he's more aware of it than he otherwise might have been. And he starts thinking about how it's just patently ridiculous that Warren would ever think of giving the rank of Gjorn to a foreigner. But he's still kind of worried about that Telrai's reluctance to accept riches as kind of his bribe to convert. So he's kind of mulling that over when he pauses for a second outside one of the merchant tents, and he's convinced he saw the distinctive cloak of a Darathi priest kind of ducking inside, and he follows it in to see who is disobeying his orders. And it turns out it's Dilaf hiding in the back, and he taunts Hrathen about his failure and how, he was close, and he had him going for a while there, but in the end, it just wasn't good enough. And then Dilaf kind of gloats about his personal victory being at hand, and then he just kind of walks out of the tent, and Hrathen goes, "What victory?" Weird and very creepy because it's all dark and candlelit and spooky inside.
Monologue. He starts monologuing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which this is just a side note, but I did find it interesting that Hrathen was like, why is there someone not in prayer who's supposed to be in prayer? Why is priest not where he's in prayer like he's supposed to be? Is like, Hrathen, are you supposed to be in prayer right now?
I think he ordered the priest. It would be like a deacon ordering a priest to do a thing.
I know,
where the
but I
deacon
just
doesn't
think it's interesting. I just thought it was funny that
Not a deacon. My brain's tired.
I just find it interesting that he's making the priests go to prayer when he himself is not doing that and is just out wandering the streets.
Being a priest sounds really boring.
Honestly, I have nothing for this chapter.
It was a short chapter, right?
It's a short chapter, and it's kind of just there to be
No,
spooky foreshadowing, I think.
always felt that something was wrong with Dilaf.
Right. We're getting to the point where everything's kind of happening at once. So these chapters are getting really short and punchy, setting up when all the dominoes eventually all fall over.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys remember feeling like the first time going through when it started to kind of seem more like Dilaf was in control than at the beginning? Like
when
at
the point where it feels like D-Lop is more in control is definitely when he pulls it over on Hrathen when Hrathen tries to get rid of him.
to send the letter,
Mm-hmm.
and then everyone
Yeah.
it turns out is working for him.
Mm-hmm. It's like,
Yeah.
like D-Lop has been playing a game that we don't know that he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember loving that. Like, he's one of my favorite characters. He's just like every time he's a weird guy and I don't like him. I'm not saying like he's like, oh, I like him.
People can like villains. I mean, that's part of the reason people like Anakin or Darth Vader.
But every time he's on the page, it's always really interesting.
He always adds like a kick to the page.
All right, you guys want to go to 52?
Absolutely.
Galadon is stitching Raiden's cheek after Serene cut him.
She did hit him. She was right. Vindicated.
For
And
now.
she'll never know.
For now.
That's right.
No, she'll eventually learn.
They're staying at Royale's place. Apparently, Iandale was the one who taught Raiden how to fight with a sword. They are both disguised as doulas via an Aeon Raiden cooked up. He's bad at accents, so settles for a doula politician, someone who would speak fluent Aralan. Raiden feels upset that Serene seems destined to dislike him, no matter which disguise he wears. Raiden
'cause
barely
he's not-
main.
She only dislikes him because she can tell he's not using his true. He's not his true self.
He's being disingenuous.
Yes, which is
Or
the-
she's a
is-
tsundere.
No, none
No.
of that. None of that.
No, she can feel that he is not being his true self, that he's not being honest with her, and so she doesn't trust him because she knows that he's not being honest. Which is why she
I
doesn't
agree.
like him.
I'm just trying to be funny. Humor's my only defense.
You may want to consider fencing.
Oh, thanks, man.
Love you, bro.
Foiled again.
Oh.
So Raiden barely maintains his cover as Royale questions him why he's the only dual noble to escape. But he shows enough political backbone to earn an invitation to the secret political meetings that Raiden started in the first place.
Which, like, why did Royale invite this random stranger into their secret "I'm planning to kill the king" meetings? Like,
You know,
Well, you gotta think about what Kalu is. He's somebody who fought against a Fjordell invader and has been put on the back pedal and has escaped. He's a fighter. He's somebody who
but he
they're
is
going up against.
he is still a brand new, unknown element.
Yeah, and then we see later, like, in some way he always knew it was Rayo.
No, he didn't.
Can I be honest with you guys? I've never been a big fan of the Kalu chapters.
I freaking love Kalu.
I don't think
I just feel like, you know, I don't know. I guess he's just kind of cheesy to me.
He's supposed to be cheesy.
I thought that was fun. Exactly why I liked him.
I think he's supposed to be kind of over the top and somewhat unlikable. I think it's, I don't know, it's supposed to be obvious overacting, and it's supposed to grate, I think.
It's like, it's Raiden having fun with the idea that he's just unlocked the ability to change his skin, and he's going around just like playing this character and like, you know, because he's trying to reveal himself to Serene, but he can't actually break through to her. Like, that would be his plan. And so in the meantime, he's just kind of going for it. But I don't know. I guess like you're right. Like even questioning how he got the invitation. Like I was questioning the same thing. Like people just accept him. It's weird.
They said that oh shoot, he actually hinted at
Serenity.
stuff like that. No, no, no.
Serenity figured out that he tried to come to Keein's house, and he stood outside to by her window to try to get her attention if she ever looked out the window. She never did. Uh, but he didn't want to just like randomly drop by her house and be like, "Hey, can I see Serenity?" Because she would be like, "What?"
Right.
Only the sense of free-willed silliness he brought gave the nobles a chance to laugh and forget. He became a necessary guest. And then later they said, Royale sees through most facades, but unlike Serenity, his primary question is not why is this man trying to fool me, but how can I make use of him?
Mm-hmm.
So he can find use of somebody that has fought the Fjordell Empire.
Yeah.
And also, as he says in my chapters, fresh perspectives are always good.
Yeah, but you're placing a lot of trust. I mean, didn't we
The Call
kind of
thing
literally...
is only the Call thing is only for like a day.
I mean, yeah, because he spoils himself pretty quickly, but like...
It's not
But
like
it
this
lasts,
happens
like,
over
3
the course of a
chapters.
week.
It is a couple days though.
No, it's like a day.
No,
And
it's more than one day.
Pretty. I think
it's like 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah.
I read it like
Because he
maybe
talks about...
2.
Because he's
because
staying with...
he goes, he fights with Serenity, hears them stitching him up, and then that evening he goes to Kaian's house.
No, it's not, because he's staying with Royale.
And he says that he went and stood outside of Serenity's window at night. As, like, disguised
So there
as
has to have been
Kaloo.
at least one other night in between.
Yeah. So
Which just feels a little...
at least
It's
2
like... It's strange. It feels like kind
didn't.
of the end of days here, and he's just hanging out in disguise.
Okay, but I came to Kaian's last night in the hopes I would see you in the window.
Yeah.
That's all he said. So that could have been before the whole Kaloo thing. Like, they get out of Elantris, and he's like, okay, now we switch to the Kaloo plan, and then Galadon's like, do we have to, Kolo? It's like, yes.
Doesn't it immediately thereafter say he couldn't stay too long because it would be weird to have a random doula just hanging outside the house?
Every time I tried to approach you these last few days, you ducked away. You ignored
These
the letter I
last
sent
few
you.
days.
Dang it. If only I read the sentence above.
If only you
Okay.
listened to Kay.
You have been wrong more times than you've been right this book.
I don't think that's true.
That's a tall claim, but we'll let it stand because I don't feel like going back to tally it.
Okay,
We've been
Swiggity,
trying to
continue?
reach you about your car's extended warranty, Kolo.
Sully?
Hey, I'm secretly Spirit, also your husband.
Ish.
That was actually pretty much it. He gets invited to the meeting, and then that's kind of how it goes. Unless I missed anything.
There was a point, I think we talked about it in the spoiler section, about asking how big of a field the disguise Aeon has. They mentioned that the scarf only covers his head and that he has to put on gloves that add the thing to his arm, the disguise to his arms. So I'm wondering, is he, like, people doing makeup in Hollywood movies, are they only doing places that will most likely be seen, or like randomly is like a small part of his chest, like his normal Lantran splotchiness?
No idea. It does talk about a little later more specifics. But I'm not sure what chapter it's in.
I think that because, so essentially wherever his clothes are, it is covered by the illusion. So, and he's able to also cover his head by the illusion with the with that same illusion. Um, so therefore, if he were to move in a way where it would be where like his clothes were off for some reason, like yeah, then you would be able to see his Elantrian self. But it wouldn't surprise me if he has it set up in a way where like if his clothes move like slightly, like it would be as if like the illusion would continue.
Well, he talks about having to tie the illusion to every muscle and every bone and every yada yada. So I think the illusion actually probably covers his entire person. Just because in order to alter, like, to create a skin tone, it would have to be tied to his skin and so on.
But he can't he can't attach it to himself.
Right, which is why he had to attach it to the clothes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for chapter 52?
It'd be cool if he could program it to bleed. Fake blood.
Like
that might be beyond the beginner, like...
I think if he were skilled enough, he could make it look like there was a cut on him, but I don't think he could... I mean...
You wouldn't be able to make it bleed in a realistic way, because if anyone touched it, they would easily be able to tell that it was illusion.
Plus, as soon as like the blood dripped away from you, it would just puff off,
disappear.
Into nothingness.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the splatter effects probably wouldn't be the best.
And
that'd be really tough to do.
And he wouldn't be able to keep the illusory blood on whatever weapon hit him.
Yeah. But you think, like, if he practiced and practiced and practiced, he'd eventually be able to do it?
Yes.
Well, as his power, the Elantrian power as it is right now, no. Because he just doesn't have enough power to do it, to extend his illusion that far.
Right.
I don't think...
There's still something wrong with, like, the magic system.
Yeah.
Unless, well, yeah, there is one thing that... we'll get to that.
I think that if we were looking at the Elantrian pre the Reread happening, then I would say yes, they would be able to do that. Make the illusion like you're talking about, but not as it stands right now.
I think it's a matter of skill, not power, for that specific example.
Well, I think it is a matter of power because you would have to extend the illusion farther beyond your body. That's the issue of power.
Like right here, I definitely think it's both. Like, because with Aeon Door, you can produce just about any effect you can think of. You want to make dripping blood that looks realistic, you can do that. But in order to make it have a range long enough to be convincing, even if you have the skill, you also have to have enough oomph to project it that far away.
Well, what I'm saying is, like,
possible right now.
It can cut, it can bleed, but once it falls out of whatever sphere of hologram or projection, then it'll disappear. That's a argument of power. But I'm saying, like, making the blood look, having it drip, and then, honestly, if the blood falls, who's gonna really watch it disappear?
Sereni.
True. 1,000%. But, like, she looked at her sword deliberately for blood. But here's an interesting thing.
But also, like, cut and then, like, a little bit of bleeding. I don't think... Yeah, it depends on how cut.
It's eventually going to pool and well up and drip. Yeah. But here's the thing. Elantrians can make something from nothing, right? They made food and other goods from just poof. So you could just make fake, Aeon Door blood come out of your face if you have the skill and power to do it. And then you don't need it to be an illusion. You could just actually make yourself quasi bleed,
You can fake your own death.
right?
You could basically put an illusion on yourself to make yourself seem like a big dude, taking fake
This
hits the whole
implying
time.
that Elantrians bleed.
They probably do.
Chapter 53. Unless anybody else has any more arguments on the specifics of Elantrian trickster nonsense.
It's fun to like spitball, but I don't have anything pertinent.
Okay. When Sereni comes home, she is distraught to see that Royale has invited her nemesis into her home. She wonders if he may be a spy, but Kalu
Nemesis is a
says
strong word.
that's how she's been treating him. She wonders if he may be a spy, but Kalu says that Harathan would rather unalive himself than get information from Adula. Royale reminds Sereni that she herself said a fresh perspective can be crucial, and she accepts this.
But they're forgetting that maybe he could be a spy for Talry. Just saying. Like, yeah, he might not be a spy for Harathan, but Talry would use a doula to spy on someone. Just saying.
But also,
But
like, it seems to be
continue.
fair. I'm pretty sure people would have noticed if the crazy doula guy had gone to see the king. Ahan, last to arrive, enters the secret, and the secret meeting starts. He wonders if Telrai will convert, but Sereni is positive. He wonders if Telrai will convert, but Sereni is positive that he will, after he gets his bunch of gold. Royale asks about troops, to which Sereni says the biggest threat from Teod will be its navy. Shuden asks about Dula resistance fighters, and Kalu says there are former citizens with foils, but not a true resistance. Lukel offers the idea of making the rebellion bigger by inviting the common people, as they're sick of the plantation system. Everyone seems to like this. It may take time, but it would work. Sereni, however, knows that once Shu-Dareth is here, they'll have no chance of succeeding. Kalu agrees, commenting seriously that violence just creates more violence, and this makes Sereni suspicious. Suddenly, Eondale proposes that they could just kill Telrai. Cain coldly agrees, and that it would solve a lot of the issues. Even Sereni had figured this to be the only way. However, Kalu did not. He points out that they are forgetting about the people of Erlon. The King's Guard and even the nobility are hesitant. If they show that there's an honest human solution, most people will take it. Suddenly, Sereni's eyes widen and she remembers that same sentiment from one other person. She jumps up, yelps, and Raoden knows that he slipped up.
He's like,
She
"Oh,
demands a quick
crap."
break before... She demands a quick break before pulling Kalu, now Spirit, aside. Gotta say, in the same way that it happened when when the hounds attacked when Serena was coming in and all the people attacked. Now there was that brief little moment where the POV changed, just so you could be confirmed that Serena understood what was happening in like a paragraph. I don't like it happening here with Raoden.
I thought it was kind of funny that it we switched to Raoden and we get to see Raoden also realize that Sereni that he is who he says he actually is, and he just goes, "Ah, crap, I messed up."
I won't deny it's funny. I just think it's Brandon making sure that the reader knows that they are aware.
Yeah.
What about?
I feel like
I mean,
it's fairly
I
obvious.
just had this idea, like, how cool it would have been if he had revealed to all of them, "Hey, I am Raoden. I am Spirit. I've been here the whole time. Like, I never gave up. I've been building up Elantris." Like, that would have been so cool. kind of what I wanted to see.
Is why didn't he? I think it might have been a chaos thing, and how like, hey, I'm back from the dead. And Elantris might have been a little too much for this group, and also secrets get out.
But he does reveal that he's an Elantrian because he literally uses.
You cut out there. Did you say the
Only-
makeup?
Oh, he literally uses the Elantrian magic.
We don't know if anybody sees that.
Right. Because he tries to heal.
Yeah. Get to that. Right. So, Spirit explains that she was right about the Aeons, and that the chasm must have caused the Reread. Aeons worked, kind of, but he was still a cursed Elantrian. Spirit explains that he tried to tell her, but she had been ignoring him, and he apologizes for Kalu's flirtatious persona. Serene forgives him, especially when he says that he left Elantris to see her. Parentheses, and fix Erelon. He's very impressed she was able to keep the group together after he left. This confuses Serene, but they return to the group before Spirit can explain. Ahan had stepped out, feigning stomach issues, as Royale reveals that he had hired assassins that had arrived that night. It was at this moment that Ahan returned, bringing with him Telrai and the city guard. Royale steps forward to speak with his quote-unquote friend, but the rivalry has seemingly made Ahan go insane. He says that he's finally won. Telrai snaps his fingers, and a guard stabs Royale through the stomach. Ahan is shocked at this, remarking that Telrai said they would just be going to prison. But he ignores him, ordering a first set of guards to find the assassins and throw them off Elantris' wall, and the second to kill everyone here, since they were traitors to the throne. But whose throne was it? A voice asked. Kalu, Spirit, rose from his seat with a new face. Raoden's face. Raoden's return scares off Telrai and the guards, and then Raoden rushes over to Royale and draws an Aeon. However, since he doesn't know the right modifiers, it provides a weak healing over Royale's entire body. The old man says he's happy to know Raoden has returned. Raoden says that without him, he may have turned out like his father, but Royale assures him that he was born with his mother's heart. His head falls as his soul goes to the beyond. The others all kneel, recognizing the true king of Erelon, and with Serene recognizing her husband.
Baby!
Finally.
Dun, dun, dun. Pour one out for Royale. I was really starting to like him.
Yeah.
You know, he starts out just this kind of pervy old man. But then by this chapter, he seemed more like a grandfatherly figure. And he was the only one who accepted Kalu. Even I didn't accept Kalu. Royale did.
I don't think... So I think Serene's the only one to know that he is an Elantrian as well. Because I think he could have done, like, the Aeon very small. I don't remember, to be honest. It could be very well next chapter, like, oh, you're... So that's cool. I honestly don't remember, so I can't say if it's a spoiler or not.
Well, it's not the next chapter, because the next chapter is about Hrathen, so...
Yep, well, first chapter, the next part.
That could be.
And I do kind of like the build-up that was Ahan's sort of money, greed, panic. Like, this is the only way I can keep a hold of my power. I will go to the king. If I turn on my friends, he will make me rich. And, like, that was the thing with the watermelons.
Sour melons.
Sour melons.
Baboons.
Also, I would like to point out as well in this chapter that the changes to their planting, their sharecropping system, was brought up as well.
It works great.
Yeah. Just want to state that it had been brought up again. Did not get completely forgotten about.
Kind of
I'm
like
glad
that
you
one
brought that
guard
up.
guy. What was his name again?
Dash.
Dashi.
Dash, yeah, our favorite character. I don't know, like Ahane's betrayal, it just does just go to show, like at the end of everything, there's always going to be somebody who's trying to cash in.
Mm-hmm.
Trust no one.
And I do like.
Ahane is genuinely upset about it though, because he thought that Royale was only going to be put in prison. He was only trying to like put him in prison to get him out of the way for like a couple months, and then like he would come back and they would continue their thing, like their rivalry.
That sounds like something every best friend should do.
Get your friend in trouble so that you can beat him.
He wasn't expecting him to get killed.
But it is kind of like, I'm struggling how to articulate this, but I do kind of like the representation of just like this guy who ruins everything because he doesn't take it seriously. Like everyone's working so hard to put somebody good on the throne, and they're all meeting and stuff, and he's just like worried about his own skin, and like he till the end, until they were actually stabbing people, he still saw it as like a game. Like he just wanted to beat Royale. Like there's just some people out there who never do quite take it seriously. And on that note,
John.
So, chapter 54 finds us back with Rathan, and he's sitting presumably in his office, though I don't think they call it out for sure.
He's in like the lobby area. Oh, in this part.
Yeah, he's talking to a messenger, and he's a little bit floored by the news that this messenger brings. Apparently, Telrai has executed someone, Ryal, and it seems very random until he kind of like sits back for a second and actually like listens to what's going on, because apparently Telrai got super lucky and caught him in the middle of an act of treason, and to make crazy even crazier, apparently Prince Raoden has come back from the dead? Question mark? Which he immediately dismisses that as a rumor spread by Sereni in a further bid for the throne.
I love that.
Obviously.
So I love that he's like, if there is a real person, it's probably a fake double, and that's the same exact thing Raoden said about Harathan leaving Elantris.
Yeah, that's a good connection. I didn't think about that. Yeah. So Harathan goes to the palace to give a little visit and advise Telrai, but he's refused. So every 5 minutes he's like, "You there, boy, go ask if I can have an audience with the king." And of course, the dude comes back out every time and is like, "Yeah, no, he doesn't want to see anybody." And finally he's like, "Okay, we're gonna do this again. You there, go ask if I can have an audience with the king." Soldier goes, "All right," goes in. And this time somebody else comes out, and there's screaming and swordplay and fighting. And what? And meanwhile, Harathan's like, "Great, there's a battle on the day that I'm not, the one day that I'm not wearing my armor."
Which, why is he not?
Why is it always the one day you're
the
not
one
wearing
day
your
you're
armor?
not. The one day I leave my phone behind is the day Taylor Swift decides to show up.
But it's just, it feels like he's very nonchalant about it. Like, just like, great, that's the one time. And so he like kind of like is watching, and he kind of gets involved a little bit, smacks sword aside or whatever, and like knocks swords away from people, and he's just like, "I'm going to go talk to the king." And then he sees the king running through like burning cloth and stuff, and it's kind of a strange thing. But out from behind him steps Yondel, who just goes and decapitates Telrai, and then falls over dead himself from a stab wound in the side. And, so, and then Harathan's just like, "Well, so much for not having a bloody revolution."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the chapter.
He
Like, it
tried
just kind of
so
like
hard.
leaves you there.
He tried so hard to not have a bloody revolution.
And yet, everything
Right.
still ends with the decapitation of the king.
Yep.
So, 2 down. How many more do we go?
Hopefully no more. I think this is the worst chapter of the book.
Really?
Yeah, just so Raoden reveals himself. The Taurai and the guards run away. In which that time, somehow rumor gets out that hey, Raoden's back. That a messenger gets that information, then goes to Hrathen. Hrathen goes to the king, waits an hour and a half, and then Eondel shows up to kill him. It's just the timing in my head does not fit right. Eondel acting out like this so chaotically is weird. The randomly the guards just turning on each other. It's just and all of it taking place over the course of like this part specifically over the course of less than a page is just very poor writing. And I feel like this could have been a really fun, actiony chapter. The fact that Hrathen's not in his armor for no explicable reason. I this chapter I like the ending and I like the final zinger line and I like Eondel and Telrai meeting an end, but like all the work to it kind of just sucks.
I mean, so for the news about Raoden, it makes sense that that news got out really fast because there were multiple guards in the room when he revealed himself. So multiple people knew, and they're gonna tell. Like, the real king just showed back up out of nowhere.
But
Like, who we thought was dead. Like, yeah, that's gonna be major news. That's gonna be spread
I'm
super quickly. And Sereni and her people are probably also outputting that news as quickly as they can.
the guards, I
Plus,
understand that getting out, but like the guards, I think would have all ran back with Taurai back to the King's Hall, and like that
Do you
information
think they
would
were
have.
using Siones as well?
Yeah. Well,
I
also,
don't.
like I said, Sereni's group is also going to be announcing and like outputting the fact that Raoden is back from the dead.
Without thinking of a plan though, just like immediately taking him
They're gonna
outside and
make
revealing him.
him king. Yeah.
But they're not gonna like
plus,
think about it over the night of, hey, what should we do? Should we just reveal him? Will that cause any
well,
effects?
couple of things. It's not clearly stated how much time has elapsed, so it could be a day or even 2 later. Because we know that Telrai has made it back to the palace, and it's an appropriate time for him to potentially be receiving visitors. So it's probably at least the next day.
I think it's the night of, because like all of the each 3 chapters takes place pretty much within the same time frame.
Or
So-
within a day of each other.
But the other thing to consider is Prathen is known to bribe guards for, a variety of reasons.
How would you change it? Would you have it be more like Raythan's trying to protect Telri
Would have it
and
where
fails?
Hrathen hears about it, maybe like make it the next morning, and then he goes up, and then he passes, and then he's going to go see if have it be the next morning, and you have to have a way for Eondel to cross him, where you can see Eondel leading a squad of soldiers up to the king's palace, and then Hrathen realizes, oh shoot, they're going to go kill the king. Then he runs up, sees
And
them fighting,
he's wearing his armor in this version,
and he's
right?
wearing his armor, and he joins the fight. And we don't really know, is he trying to save Telrai, or maybe he wants to kill him as well. But we don't. But basically, he breaks through into the room, and basically it ends the same way. But I feel like everything except like the final 3 paragraphs of this chapter is not that good.
I think that Hrathen not being in his armor, I think, is a good depiction in this chapter because of the fact that it is showing that Hrathen is caught off guard by everything that just happened. It is emphasizing that fact even more by the fact that he is not wearing his armor. Like, he
He's
is
helpless.
completely caught off guard by everything that has happened.
But I feel like that's been taken away from the fact that we've already seen him for a long period of time without the armor when he was in
No,
Elantris, and like he had
but
been removed of it, and now the armor is his metaphor of I have accepted the armor as I have accepted my faith. I now wear the armor for the rest of the movie or
But
the rest of the book.
but that's the point, is that this is that every time we see him in his armor, he is composed, he is in control. That he is not in control here
But he
at
wasn't
all
in
whatsoever.
control when Telrai revealed, "Oh, I've asked the Gjorn to make me a Gjorn. I've asked the Worm to make me a Gjorn."
I mean, that's life's great secret, right? We're never really in control.
I'm not saying the metaphor isn't there, and I just feel like
You
why
just don't like it.
I don't like it in this instance. If it had been like, if we had seen the messenger wake him up from his sleep and be like, "Hey, people are going to kill the king because he just did a thing," and he raced off to do it, that might work better.
Well, it might have been that he was just chilling in his office.
I
The
feel like he would be
messenger,
chilling in the
right?
armor in his
Well,
office
why?
because
Well,
we only
I'm
see him in his armor.
sorry.
It seems to be an aspect of the religion. It's like I'm guessing he only takes it off to sleep.
It's a symbol of his faith, but it's a public symbol. I don't think he wears it all the time. Like, that'd be crazy. Yeah. That's some D&D stuff right there. I sleep in my plate.
I shot in it too. I
Well,
just
your character has back pains now.
I mean, I could completely just be overanalyzing it. It's just in my mind, this chapter, except
Doesn't
for the
sit with you.
final paragraph, just
And that's fine.
does not work for me.
It
It's
is
also, sorry, you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say it is a little bit abrupt, and because of the point of view that we see, like there's a lot of stuff that happens sort of off camera, if you will. So it can make it a bit jarring and shocking, but I guess
And I think if you have Wraithen putting too much effort to literally physically defend Telri, that is effort misplaced because he was never really trying to get Telri on the throne because he likes him. Like, he just wanted to avoid the bloody revolution that is now happening.
right. He needed
And
someone he could manipulate.
and maybe show like in that fight of he's not trying to protect the king or kill the king, like he's just knocking people out so this way they aren't killing each other.
Well, and that's exactly what he's doing in this sense as well, like what he's doing right now, but he just doesn't have a sword.
I know, but we
Right.
don't see that. There's
Yeah, we kind of do. Like
we
he's
get like
knocking
a
swords
little bit, but I'm
away,
saying
and
this chapter could have been an action piece, and
You
it could
wish
have
that
been.
there was more to this chapter.
I wish there was a lot more to this chapter, and they cut out the messenger part. You could have easily just said he got a messenger, he went to the king, boom, right there, and then I don't know why there was a POV jump, and I feel like this could have been a really fun, long Harathan chapter that we have not been getting ever since he came out of Elantris.
Yeah, I would say, I don't like your idea of Eondel like marching a group of soldiers up to the palace because I don't think it would make sense. Instead, I like the idea that Eondel comes in by himself and the soldiers that were there, half of the soldiers that are there to guard Telri turn on him.
That would be cool as well.
That's kind of what I was imagining as like the soldiers, like half of the soldiers there are actually they're Eondel's soldiers. They're not Telri's.
I thought that would be cool as well, and I was even wondering, how do the guards know? But these specifically says like the Eondel ones wear blue and yellow, and Telruns wear a different color. I think that would be cool as well. Just randomly the fighting happens. Suddenly places is on fire. It's just this. It's both too much is going on, but he's not showing us enough of it where it's interesting.
It's chaotic, and Hrathen is out of control. He is losing control. This is starting to show Hrathen losing control.
We've been getting that for all of his past like 2 or 3 point of view ever since Sereni returned.
But this is more so because like we also have that visual representation of him not in his armor.
And I feel like that could work only if it was like you showed him rushing off. But it's like it does a POV jump where it's like, okay, during that time couldn't he have put on the armor? He waits around for an hour plus.
Where
it says he waits.
But he's like waiting in the at the palace. Like
the last hour
constantly
demanding a meeting every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But, like,
so he's not just waiting around, like where he could just like go and pop off and go get his armor. Like
But I'm saying, like, he could have had his armor on before then. Like, he could have, I got news about this whole, okay, let me go put on my armor because I have to go intimidate the king for his stupidity and make one last request of him to surrender to the Gjorn, to the worm.
Alright, I think we've debated this enough that we can move on.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else for this chapter set or this part?
Negative.
I'm all set.
Okay, dokie. Well, next time we are going to be covering Elantris Part 3, The Spirit of Elantris, chapters 55 through 59. I believe, John, you already have dibs on chapter 55.
You are correct.
Yep. But it is time to head into the spoiler realm. So if you have not finished this book, the entire series, or potentially the entire Cosmere, then we recommend you stop here because it is likely that we will talk about everything and anything. If you are up to date, feel free to stick around because it is likely that we'll bring up details you may have missed or plot threads still yet to come. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, star, heart, or whatever it is on this podcast, and don't be afraid to comment your own thoughts and predictions. You can find us at cosmereconnectionspod@gmail.com, at @CConnectionsPod on Twitter, and we even have our own Facebook group. We would love to hear from you. But if this is where we must part, then my name is ReaderWarrior, and I have been joined by Swiggity Swoo.
So much for avoiding a bloody revolution.
John.
I bid you adieu.
And Kay.
Have a good one.
And don't forget, there's always another connection. And we're back! Spoilers.
Let's go.
Okay, so chapter 50. This is the one where Kalu shows up. He fights Sereni.
I think he like winks at Sereni at some point where he's like,
He
like
does.
he like slyly like is like smirking at her and being like, I know that I am Raoden, but you don't know I'm Raoden, and you don't know I'm Spirit, and this is fun.
I think he
I think
does
he's
do
just
the
trying to
Aeon.
play up like an overt flirtatiousness.
Oh yeah.
I think he's
I-
also trying to rile up Sereni.
I mean, you know, I know I probably would. I wouldn't be
I
able
think
to.
when the-
I wouldn't be able to stop
yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
When the chips finally fall and she's like asking why, I think he says something like, "Come on, it was fun, right?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah."
I get a bit of Kalu all to myself now, I believe she says. I think Raoden does use the Aeon and make a flower. I
There's
think.
not enough time.
Well, I think he could. He kicks up the water.
When?
And, like, he
With
has enough-
Sereni's vigilant eyes watching his every move.
Like
Not to
just with
mention the
his,
crowd of
time.
onlookers.
with the one hand, he kicks up the water and blinds her. And so, like, in that splash, he's able to like get on one knee, plant the sword on the ground, and like pull out a flower from whatever. I think he can just do like a quick little and like maybe in like the movie like show it glowing, the glow fading a bit from the flower.
I don't know how fast you're able to draw.
Yeah,
But
right,
we know
like,
Raoden has been like
especially
memorizing
with the
these things.
precision you have to make an Aeon work.
But we know
No.
Raoden has
Okay.
been doing that.
He totally kicked up the water, turned around, slashed a rose off the bush, did a little spinny do, and went, "What? Hey, lady!"
So
Like-
no, I find creating a flower out of nothing more realistic
Or
than that.
he had
It would be
one-
cooler. It would be cooler, but it's just not reasonable.
Or
Like,
he
I don't-
had one in the like inside pocket of
lip-
his jacket because he
right.
was planning to give it to her anyway. And then she challenged him to a duel and he was like, well, I guess this is as good at any time.
Or maybe
Oh,
it's
crap,
I
a
need a
secret
distraction.
we'll
I
never
was
know.
a flower.
Maybe it's a secret we'll never know.
Perhaps.
The
Actually, I'm
world
gonna
will
check.
never know.
Y'all can ask Brandon at Nexus.
I'm gonna actually check to see is it in the annotations.
Well, he's
Wait.
doing that.
Here, I'm gonna write this down as a.
Okay. Anything else for this chapter?
What are the chances later on we see that flower and it's like, yeah, that's actually the flower from the duel between Kalu and Sereni in Elantris.
I'm pretty sure Mraize. Oh, yeah. No, I can talk about that. I'm pretty sure Mraize has that in his underground lair.
Right? He's got a flower down there
He
of
does.
some kind,
It
right?
says nothing about
I'm pretty sure it's a tier eventually,
created.
though. Like,
Hmm.
Okay. Chapter 51 then. So this is the Harathan chapter, where I'm guessing Deloff is like drunk or something.
no, he's
Read
totally setting
monologues.
up the rituals to have everybody transported over from Fjordell.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Are the ashes him teleporting back?
No. It's the incense that are part of the ritual. They're from because Rathan thinks it's an incense vendor, and then he goes in there and it's like it's all burned already. Like, what the heck's going on here? And he's like playing with the ashes, and he's like, "What's going on?" And then all of a sudden, Deloff.
Just like the remnants of your power, foolish man.
See, what I was thinking is like he teleported, he did whatever the teleportation evil Aeon is to get over, and then this is him coming back, and it dispels the ash because that's like the remnants of like the sacrifice or something.
I mean, maybe it could be, but
I don't know.
it is like much of what we do here, pure speculation.
Yes. Okay.
You're
anything-
blowing my mind with the teleportation Aeon because I forgot that was even a thing.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, John could be right.
Well,
Not
the only
not
reason
to
I
say
say
that
that
he
is,
isn't usually. It's just I have no memory of the incense thing.
I probably bat about 500. So the only reason that I feel a little more confident about my response to that one is because I've already read ahead and done next week's reading,
Show
and
off.
so it was convenient, and these chapters were fairly short.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we see that the tents are prep work for what is coming.
Okay. 52. So Galadin recounts Murphy's Law. We learn that the scarf only covers his head. Royale invites him to their secret meeting. And shoot, I forgot to bring it up. But I was wondering if the whole time where he's having to like fake being this doula in front of Royale, Galadin's just like keeping a notepad and he's like making a little tally of how many times he has to punch Raoden in the shoulder for some stupid thing he says.
I love when he's like, "Don't do it in private, Sully."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Also,
there was-
speaking of punching people, just a side note, I think it's funny that immediately when Serenity finds out that Kalu is a spirit, she punches him in the shoulder. That's her first instinct. Is just
Very in character.
Well, her first instinct is to gasp and react. Her second is to, after confirmation, punch him.
yeah.
Well, you know.
And now we have to imagine that he's feeling that punch for the rest of the book.
Yep.
Yeah, because he would be.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
But they brought up something very intriguing in this chapter, where they state that Aeons can only be destroyed by another Elantrian. An Aeon inscribed in dust would continue to function even if the pattern was scuffed or erased. So, two things. That implies that invisible Aeons are a thing, because you can make it in dirt and then just kick the dirt away.
You could have
So-
Trap Aeon.
Trap Aeons. How do you find those? Secondly, would
Use
this...
sand from Six of the Dust. From White Sand.
True. True.
You could use an AVR though.
True.
Depending on the aviator. Yeah.
Secondly...
The one that shows your death. Sorry.
Secondly, does this imply that the Reread was caused by an Elantrian as the effects that happened negated all of this Aeons?
No, because the reason that the Aeons were negated was because the physical landscape changed. So unless an Elantrian was the one who caused the earthquake to happen that broke the land, I would say no.
That's what I'm hypothetically proposing.
You're saying that Elantrian caused the earthquake that broke the land?
Yes.
Seems unlikely to me. We don't see Aeons having that
What
high
if
of
it's...
power level usually.
No.
I would
What-
argue instead is it's probably autonomy that caused the land to break because she knew that she would have to do something to with about the Elantrians in order to make her takeover of the planet easier.
What other thing have we seen in the Cosmere that causes a large divide in landmass?
Ruin?
A Dawn Shard. And
When
Brandon has...
Do we see a Dawn Shard cause a large divide in the landmass?
Yeah, what?
Not in Elantris, in the Cosmere.
No, I said in a land mass.
That's
Where have we seen a Dawn
the
Shard?
Shattered Plains.
Oh, because we do know that that was caused. Brandon has said that that was caused by a Dawn Shard, hasn't he?
Yes, and Brandon has also
Yeah.
said we have seen the effects of a Dawn Shard on screen other places. What if somebody was using a Dawn Shard and that caused the chasm?
That would be really, really, really cool. Here's the thing. Somebody is trying to get a hold of those, and it ain't the good guys. It ain't just the good guys, right? We know that this is true from Sunlit Man, but also we know there's some big bad thing happening outside of even the shards, because there's this letter in Rhythm of War from Sazed to Hoyd talking about how, oh, this problem is bigger than any one shard could deal with. And I don't think he's talking about Odium. And he's saying that Odium's not strong enough to unite all of them, so he's just going to destroy all of us so that he can act with all of the power, because then he'll be the only shard and he'll have the will to do so. So there is something out there, big, bad, outside of Aiden Alcium, and I think that wants the Dawn Shards. And maybe it wasn't autonomy. Maybe it was. But I have not considered that a Dawn Shard made the chasm, and I think that's an awesome theory.
I am not saying at 100% I believe this. Mostly this is me hedging my bets in case something happens in the Elantris 2 or 3 books.
Yeah.
So at that point I can say I was right. My trick is to make as many bets as possible, so at least one of them will be correct. That's how you win at poker.
No, that's how you lose a lot of extra money at poker. Actually, that's how you go broke playing Ruby.
Okay. Well, that was my big... I think that might get us talking for a while, and apparently it didn't. Anything else?
No, we were just all like, yeah, that sounds cool. We have no, like, counterpoints.
I was expecting
so it's
bigger.
like...
Okay, chapter 53. This is the big one of this chapter set. Serene realizes that Kalu is Spirit. Ahan is revealed to be the traitor. They kill Royale. Spirit reveals himself to be Raoden. And Royale dies.
Sad.
Yeah, this one is kind of... it's less about, I guess, spoilers and more about that things being revealed. But I don't know. The whole Kalu thing is so crazy because it's like this reveal within a reveal within a reveal, especially for Serene.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that now that he's out of Elantris, he's not being pulled down by the fact, oh, if people found out there might be issues. It immediately really comes out. And like he even says right before, I'm surprised you kept my group together or this group together after I left. So like it was like in one chapter.
Oh yeah, he was about to tell Serene that he was Raoden. Like he was going to tell her.
Yeah.
After the meeting was over, he was planning to tell her.
It's almost like he picked a persona that was so ridiculous because he knew she was going to figure it out, or because he was planning on telling her.
Well, this is like the only time she's realized one of his personas is fake.
Yeah, and I feel like it's probably because he's just started slipping back into his regular self, being back at the meeting, talking about the same passionate stuff he used to.
Well, and also, like, let's be honest, the spirit persona isn't a fake persona for him. So it's like there would be no reason for her to think that Spirit is fake, because Spirit is not fake. It's just a different name for Raoden. Like it's still him. He's still himself. Like he's not trying to pretend to be someone else.
He was around Serene though.
But he dropped that persona. He wasn't trying to be someone else. He just wasn't telling her his real name.
He pretended to not...
Yeah, and he
Okay,
dropped
I'm
that
agreeing with the
persona.
sentiment,
He dropped
but
that persona
but their whole
after
first
she
time
got
meeting with him,
into
but the
after
whole
she
first
became an Elantrian. He dropped that persona.
what? But also he pretended to just be a lowly worker when in fact, like she realized, oh, he's actually the leader of the gangs.
Yeah, she figured that out herself.
Yeah, I know. Good on her.
I know. I'm
So,
saying this
never
isn't
mind.
the
She
first time
cracked.
she's
She
figured it
cracked
out.
two. She cracked two.
Yeah.
She got a 50-50 chance. She flips a coin every time she meets somebody. She's like, "Are you secretly somebody else?" No.
What do you mean she got you
Well,
50
she
50
didn't.
chance? I was like she got 2 out of 3. Like
Well, Spirit being a lonely person, Spirit being Raoden, Kalu being Spirit, and
yeah.
Spirit being Raoden.
You said
Did I say
Spirit
that
being
once,
Reread
twice?
twice.
Yeah. So Spirit being lonely, Spirit being Raoden,
Raoden
Kalu being Spirit
slash Raoden.
/ Raoden. I'm so confused now.
So there's 3. There's
So
3,
many.
Raider. There's 3.
Yes. But also
And
him
Imagine
having
how
Sweetie
Serene
got
feels.
2
then
out of
there's
the
also
3.
and also him having to pretend to be an evil gang leader.
Yeah, that was part of him being lowly. Is she also figured that
Now,
he's
there's a
probably
difference between him being the low, like, I'm just a lowly person working for them, they asked me to manage, versus him being revealed that, oh, you're secretly the evil mastermind. He's like, yes, I am a tyrant.
Like, would you still go out with a guy after all this? That's a lot of things. That's a lot of big reveals.
Yeah. And, oh, there was one thing, I like how, when they're like, we need to assassinate, Kai was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Slipping back, showing a little bit of that crushed throat coldness.
Sometimes you just gotta swing an axe.
Anything else for 53? Okay, 54. I think I've made it pretty clear my thoughts on this chapter.
Yeah, there's nothing much to do about nothing in this chapter. It's just events.
Nothing at this chapter at all, then.
No.
not really. I mean, this is
I
the
mean-
start of. This is like the big, like, Hrathen is falling. Hrathen has lost control. Like, he was losing control earlier. Now he's lost control of everything.
And the next chapter says soon after Royal's death, the night before. So, like, it happens right after.
That's the thing with this chapter. This is not the kind of chapter you read and you go, okay, well, that was great. This is the kind of chapter you read and you're like, next chapter, please.
Yeah.
Being the climax of part 2, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's even like, oh, this is so cool, I want to see what... It's just like, nothing happened here. What? Give me the next... I tasted nothing
Well,
in this...
it's more like, wait, what now?
Yeah. I was like, there's a lot that
A lot of-
happened in this
a lot of,
chapter.
like,
What
a
do you
few,
mean
thi-
nothing
few
happened?
things happened in the last paragraph, and that was about it.
Yeah, but they were major things.
Disagree.
Telri being killed is pretty major.
right?
But they don't
Yondel
make
getting
it...
dead is
It's not
also
epic at
major.
all. It's not
Yondel-
even written in a coin. Eondel is
But
more
that doesn't
emotional, but
mean
like
that
we
it's
don't.
not. But reader, my point is that just because you feel like it is not epic does not negate the fact that it is still not very important.
I'm not saying it's not
And-
very important. I'm just saying it wasn't written importantly.
everyone is entitled to their thoughts and opinions.
And I'm perfectly happy to be told I'm wrong. I'm just wanting to defend
don't-
myself and make sure I am
I don't
understood.
I don't think you're wrong. Like, I think it leaves you with a bit of a feeling of confusion and like, holy crap, all this stuff just happened out of nowhere, but it's all, holy crap, all of that just happened. Like, right there.
Yeah.
Need more information, please.
Yeah, I guess it's not. It's like a lot of Brandon's books, you're getting reveals on multiple levels. So you're getting personal growth reveals, story reveals, world building reveals, and maybe there's more than just those three, but like some of the Elantris chapters don't have all three, and this is one of them where it's kind of like just doing a little bit more of the story, but where's your personal growth? Where's your world building?
I think that's a good thing. I would, since I'm seeming to be the pessimist today, I would even say like sometimes it barely scratches one of the three. But I feel like the Eondel and the Telrai dying, yes, that's important, but there's no weight to the chapter to make it feel like anything other than if they had just said they died. Like if they started off the next chapter with Raoden recounting Eondel led an assault, killed him, and died in the process, is the same level of like what we just saw.
Yeah, I get you. I get what you're saying.
Anything else for this chapter set? Okie dokie. Well, that will just about cover it for this episode, our shortest one of this book. Thank you so much for joining us in Ramblings and Predictions. This has been Cosmere Connections, and we hope to see you next time.